Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world to share their insight and expertise so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi and the co-founder of the Spotlight to Scale Accelerator, where we help drive revenue for companies by making sure they're seen as the expert and go-to authority in their industry versus just another product or service. And today I am joined, I'm excited about this conversation for you listening. I'm really excited because this is something I've never heard of, and I'm really intrigued by this business. So I'm really honored to be joined by Bob Kulhan with Business Improv. So welcome, Bob, to the podcast.
Heidi, thanks for having me. Hello, everyone out there.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to have you, and I'm thrilled to dive in and learn more about what you do in your company. So can you share with us, Bob, like who you are? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your company, and your role within it.
Sure, I am a Chicago trained improviser, though I don't live there right now. I spent just shy of 20 years in the city of Chicago doing improv and sketch comedy, and as a performer, rose to the highest levels possible. I'm very happy to say. Then I moved out to New York in 2009 and did the same thing out here. Now I live in the burbs, Manhattan. So 30 years ago, I started performing improv. 25 years ago, though, when in the late 90s, professional improviser was an oxymoron. So trying to figure out how to pay my mortgage, had the unique opportunity to collaborate to create the first program in any business school in the entire world that focused solely on linking improvisation to business. And that was at the Duke University Fuqua School of Business. And the way that I did that was by pinning it down with the behavioral sciences. So
Okay.
my company, Business Improv, started as a one and done training house and now is a full-fledged consultancy that teaches people how to use the tenets of improvisation for personal and professional development, how to create agile teams, how to create adaptable cultures, and ultimately how to create very nimble leaders as well.
Yeah, I was checking out your website and everything, going through it, and I was like, oh, this is so cool and so different, and I've never heard anything like it. So, how can improv principles help leaders become more agile, as you were sharing, building agile teams, adaptable and effective in high pressure situations?
Yes. So when you think about improvisation, have you seen an improv show before? Have you gone to see improv?
Yes, and they're amazing.
Okay. So what do you see when you look at them up on stage?
It just seems to flow, and I'm in awe of them because I'm like, I don't know how they come up with things so fast. It's fast, it's very quick, and it's connected, and yeah, it just blows my mind.
Yes. All right. So the tenets of improvisation, and let me start with the way that we define improv in Business Improv, my company. And this definition is unique to us because if you look up the definition of improv online, you're going to find probably 20 or 30 different definitions. Ours is on three core competencies, which is reacting, adapting, and communicating.
Okay.
Reacting is focus, concentration, presence, which is what you're seeing on stage. We are here, we are in the moment at a very high level. We're listening to understand what other people are saying to us, as well as nonverbal communication. Adapting is the parameters in which that takes place. In the reference that we just made, we're up on stage. In reality, though, it's in businesses, it's in sales calls, it's with 14 and 15-year-old children. It's with whom we're reacting, the
Interacting.
environment in which we're reacting, the desired outcomes that we're trying to drive toward in our reacting and adapting. Subroot to both of these is communicating, as we're not in space, we're not in a vacuum. So as it relates to agility, it's part of improvisation is getting out of our own way, not thinking about what we're going to say next. Be present, be in the moment, listen to understand, and then react honestly. And the phrase that we go to is think slow to move fast, where you're slowing your brain down so much so that the words that somebody else is saying to you become gold, become so
Mm.
important that they're giving you nuggets of gold. Now it's up to you to collect the real gold as opposed to the fool's gold. And then what you do with this gold becomes super important as well, because they're paying hyper attention to you as well. And so by slowing the brain down, we let our natural intelligence come to the surface. And this then creates either the definition of that speed that you mentioned before, or at least the perception of speed, as what we're doing is really connecting two separate points with straight lines that other people can't see because they're getting in their own heads, they're getting in their own ways. So it's focus, it's concentration, it's presence, it's engagement, it's adaptability, it's a flexibility, it's communication, it's collaboration, and outcomes are things like agility, adaptability, creativity.
Yeah. Well, you're saying all of my love language when it comes to business because communication, creativity, collaboration, those are key. Consistency, right? It's all key to building a thriving business. Adaptability, flexibility. Like we need all of that when it comes to growing. Can you repeat what you said? Because it flew by me and I had it and I think it's a huge gold nugget for this time with you. You said something, and I'm going to butcher it probably. Think slow to move fast. Is that what you
You
said?
did. You hit
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Heidi hit it right on the head. You were listening. You were in the moment.
I'm listening. I'm here, but it's just like think there's so much gold nuggets that you're sharing, and I'm like, think slow to move fast. I love that
Yes.
because I think
Yes.
many people are listening to respond versus listening to be present in the moment. And when it comes to enrollment, when it comes to sales, we need to be listening instead of worrying about what our response is. And that's what many people in sales do. They worry about what their response is going to be versus being in that moment. And, it sounds like from what you're saying, it's really important that we're in the moment, truly listening, listening to give versus listening to just like respond and react.
Absolutely. And if you
Yeah.
bring it back to the context that you just mentioned, sales, your clients or prospective clients are giving you those nuggets of gold that we mentioned. They're literally telling you what's important to them, their organization, whatever it is, their goals that they're trying to achieve. And very often in sales, we think about what we're trying to sell them as opposed to listening and collecting these nuggets of gold and then repositioning our offers based on what they're giving us and showing them the value proposition. You said you have this problem. This is why this solution that we have, it's a proprietary solution to us. We do it better than everybody else, is going to solve that problem, which is going to make you more money in the long run.
Right.
So this idea of thinking slow to move fast is certainly it's a started in Chicago. Hopefully it's a global improv thing. It links though to what the special forces, specifically the Navy SEALs say, which is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So
Mm.
in times of risk and uncertainty, crisis, chaos, which for them is significant, right? There's mortality
Right.
on the line and big missions on the line. It's who can slow the brain down, who can listen to understand, who can collect information, observe, assess the scenario as accurately as possible, postpone judgment to hear what your team is saying to you, and then move with direction, communicate with authority, and uh, and also empower people to go do their jobs on their own as well, so that ultimately we're taking this to the next level. And that's the same with Think Slow to Move Fast. It's the same with great improvisational organizations. It's about empowering other people so that they can go off and conquer the world for you.
Mm. So let's talk about communication. Because when it comes to thinking slow, listening, moving fast, what are some common communication mistakes, Bob, that leaders are making, and how can improv help them improve? And I just love that improv is part of the word of improve.
It's true. It's true. Okay, so pitfalls that a lot of leaders have. One, they think about what they're going to say next as opposed to just truly listening because
Mm.
they've formulated this plan and you need everybody to buy into your idea. And so this is another big difference that we teach a lot of people in business improv. Rather than committing to this idea of buying in, I need you to buy into my idea, Heidi. Well,
Mhm.
great. I'm the leader, you're the subordinate, and so technically I should follow, you should follow whatever I say anyway. What do I want you to do is own the idea, right? That's what buying in means. However, in the world of behavioral sciences, now going back to the other part of what I do, buying into something creates a transactionary response in somebody else. And they're like, okay, I'll buy into your idea, leader. What do I get in return? Because I'm buying into this. So this is an investment for me. So what's the value proposition for me? What's my return on investment? So rather than focusing on buying into an idea, the argument that we make is build into the idea. We
Mhm.
are going this direction. You help us find the path. You tell us what you see, what you learn, what you experience. Give us your perspective on how to best conquer this mountain. So this is the next thing that I think a lot of leaders are challenged with. In knowing where they want the company, the organization, the team to go, we become closed-minded and we think that we have the path. And so we ask things like Socratic questions to get you to come up with the idea that you are actually contributing, as opposed to saying, literally contribute. This is the North Star. I'm telling you where we're going to go. Let's work on navigating this path together and mapping it out and even, signposting, creating pit stops along the way so that we can succeed doing this. So the first is thinking about what we're going to say next. The second is thinking that our idea is the only our path that we want to go and is the only correct path. And in doing so, what we do is shut other people down. And we need to get them on board. So ultimately, we're creating this together. The two big ones that I see.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, can you share with us who the businesses are that you serve and what is the process? Like if somebody was to say, you know what, I'm listening to Bob and I think I could use their support, what would that process look like for somebody coming in?
Yes. So business improv is really industry agnostic. If you have to talk with people, communicate, collaborate, you're into sales, storytelling, dealing with change, dealing with conflict, we're your organization because all we focus on people skills and human connection, which our argument now, especially in the world that AI is going to continue to create for us, is
Yeah.
becoming more and more important to bring it back to the human element of what we do. So we work with the military, we work with the government, we work with solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, one-on-one coaching to help executives, so executive development. We work in universities, exec eds, MBAs. We work with biopharma. We work with oil, textiles. We work with construction, architecture. It's white collar to blue collar, from the youngest onboarded to boards of directors, everybody in between.
Hmm.
And so the process then is first discovery, right? What are we talking about? Why are we talking with each other? Because a lot of times our clients will come to us and say, we have this problem. And then in talking with them, we start unpacking it and we say, well, do you know you have this problem? Or do you see, is that actually a problem, what we're hearing from you? Because the way that you're articulating this conflict problem, really beyond conflict, is a trust issue. Because the conflict is based in silos and the trust is taking place because no one's talking with each other because they think the other people don't know what they're talking about. And so where is that coming from? And so once we start talking with people, we discover and we postpone judgment as well. We don't come in and say, we have your solution. Our job is to find the right solution ultimately. And that's of course based on parameters, budget, time, challenges, all sorts of that normal stuff. However, from the discovery comes, a proposal and thought sheets, outlines, curriculum development, timelines, run of show, all sorts of different documents based on whatever our clients and partners want from us. Because
Hmm.
some really want to get in the details, right? I want to know everything that you're doing to the letter.
Right.
And others are like, Bob, I have a full-time job. You said you're going to do this. You go do this. I want one touch base halfway through. I want one touch base 2 weeks before to know we're on point, and then I want you to go in and execute.
Yeah.
So we really serve and support what our clients want based on the parameters that they set. And ultimately, once we work on that, we define what the return on investment is, and then we go and knock your socks off. Our job, we have it even on the website. We want to make you look like a rock star for bringing us in.
Yeah.
That clear.
So I'm just the improv. What does that piece mean? Because I've done theater. My son is loves theater. So you just said run of show. So I'm curious, like, what does that like? I kind of chuckled. I'm like, that's so cool, run of show. What does that mean? So because it could be intimidating for people to go, wait a minute, I've got to get on stage here and like improv. Like, is there a lot of role playing? How does somebody get comfortable with that, especially if they're not, if this is new to them? Can you explain more of the improv piece that you're bringing into the business?
Absolutely. So our path is different than the extreme majority of improv houses out there by design. Back in 1999, I was 27 years old. I'm in Chicago, the city for improvisation and all the big famous improv houses. As I had this opportunity to collaborate to create that program for Duke, and I had that LLC just as a CYA, um, I started thinking like, well, what can I do differently? So leaning into the behavioral sciences, leaning into the academia, leaning into the proof, the application. This is how you actually use these tools and techniques are all part of what we do.
Mm.
So for us, based on whatever the outcomes are that are designed, what are we teaching? A change program, a creativity and innovation program, all
Mm.
that's defined very clearly. We don't typically do not put people up on stage unless it's just for fun. We don't highlight people. We don't make people feel uncomfortable. We don't make people do things and set an example for other people. We teach what's called in mass. Everybody goes through every exercise at the same exact time because ultimately what we teach people to do is learn how to ride a bicycle. And that bicycle is business improv techniques toward personal, professional development and application on a path that you can take on your own. So by teaching you how to ride this bicycle, especially in mass where there's safety in numbers, we
Yeah.
can use conformity pressure or positive peer pressure, if you will, as a technique of like, well, if everybody else is doing it and I'm the only one not doing it, I'm going to be the one that feels uncomfortable because I'm not doing it. And what are we asking you to do? Communicate, collaborate. That's what improv is. It's a communication and collaboration based art form. It's not a performance only art form because the Navy SEALs have to improvise. Chefs, if you watch any cooking competitions, they're improvising. Musicians improvise. Teachers improvise. Parents improvise. Business people have to improvise because really in risk and uncertainty, stress, crisis, we fall back on our most overused and overlearned behaviors. And improv is how you execute these overlearned and overused behaviors. So the
Mm.
challenge then is getting people to understand that we're strengthening a skill set directly related to everything you have to do anyway in life. So reducing it down to those elements and then teaching in mass creates this great safety, this great safe space in which we can fail early, fail often, learn by trying how to ride a bicycle because the first time you ride a bike is awkward and uncomfortable. The 50th time is much less, and the
Right.
100th time, your hands free, right?
Yeah.
And so we can do show elements. We do show elements. We have a gig next week. Actually, I have a gig on Friday uh,
Oh,
in which I'll be teaching, and then they will do a show with each other and for each other just for fun with a little bit of, liquid courage. That's,
yeah.
a social hour, a cocktail hour. However, we're not one of the ones that's going to make you wear a funny hat. We're not one of the ones that's going to set examples by making people get on stage and potentially embarrassing them or alienating them. We're one of the ones that want to teach you how to use these tools and techniques so you can actually use them now, immediately, as soon as you leave our programs.
Yeah, and I can completely see how this just strengthens teams within organizations too. Just by listening to you, they're doing it together. They get, like you said, a little bit of positive peer pressure. These people did it. I can do it too, especially when they feel like they're behind me. I can't fail because they're holding me. So it's really a great team building experience. So you've mentioned behavioral sciences, and so how does that incorporate into what you're doing? And what's the connection between improv and emotional intelligence in leadership?
Whoa, the connection is direct. It's an overlap. All right, so the behavioral sciences, especially what we've been doing, have been having the opportunity to be adjunct at Duke Fuqua puts me really gives me the world as far as access to thought leaders and professors in the world of the behavioral sciences. Originally, when that we started that differentiation back in 1999, I was partnering with behavioral economists, some of whom were mentored by Danny Kahneman, who won a Nobel Prize in behavioral economics. So essentially studying how and why we make decisions alone, how we make decisions as individuals in a group, and how the group makes a decision. This is a quarter century of my life doing this. So all of these underpinnings become very important because you can link this to, though it's not the most popular term out there, um, uh, psychological safety. You can link this to how to create inclusive environments and use intrinsic motivation as a tool, a technique to get involvement from people, even the most quietest, the scientists, the actuaries, the underwriters, everybody participates, the engineers, everybody participates, everybody wants to be heard. It's a basic human desire to be understood. Basic. This transcends any occupation you have out there. Everyone wants to be heard out there. So creating these environments in which people can do this help people. Now, how does this link to emotional intelligence? We're asking people to participate, which means that there is an element of at least the feeling of vulnerability. So people are opening themselves up to just participate. Don't be right, don't be clever, don't be creative. Participate, be present, be in the moment, perform at the top of your intelligence. Give us your best right now. Just get out of your way and just speak spontaneously with each other. So this once again creates this freedom. Go back to listen to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Be engaged is to be engaging, just like to be interested is to be interesting. It's magnet to steel. People are drawn to us when people are drawn to people who find them engaging, people are drawn to people who find them interesting. This is core connection we're talking about. And so when you take some simple things like that, or maybe those are more complex, and then you put simple things like eye contact, facial expression in place, tonality in place, all of a sudden what you're talking about doing, especially in the field of behavioral sciences, is showing somebody that you care enough about what they have to say, that you're willing to listen to them before you respond, before you say the word no.
Yeah. Oh, so good. You got to ask questions. You got to go deeper, right? It's all
Yeah.
about, and that's part of being engaging and being interested in what they're wanting to, what they're sharing with you, and
Yeah.
not assuming that you have all the answers. Really
Yes.
listening to and then customizing it specifically for their needs. So you mentioned AI earlier, Bob. So what's the connection with AI reshaping the workplace? How can improv help leaders and teams stay adaptable and human centered? Because you brought that up as well.
Yeah, so especially what we do in business improv, it's people skills, it's human connection. So I'll go back to that great phrase that my mentor, who created the Second City Training Center, a man named Martin DeMott, instilled in me, which is it's a basic human desire to be understood.
Mm,
So we are humans. AI, at least until we become cyborgs and terminators and blow up the entire world, are not robots. Which means that if this is true, it's a basic human desire, then we are searching for people who understand us. We want to be in organizations that have leaders that care about us because most people don't quit companies, right? They quit leaders. And so, as AI continues to evolve and develop, I think there is a place for it. Even writing proposals, um, in crafting emails potentially. There's all sorts of places you can use the AI. I would always say, whatever you're using AI for, go back and put your spin on it. Add your human touch to whatever material AI has generated. Ultimately, though, AI is not going to talk to people for you. They're not going to manage conflict for you. They're not going to have difficult conversations or answer difficult questions. They're not going to be able to craft the story in a very personal way based on new information at this specific time.
right.
So all of this, then you mentioned sales once upon a time, is directly related to this relationship building,
Yep.
you know?
Absolutely. Yep. Again, that connection. It's like
Yeah.
those C words, connection, creativity, collaboration, all equals currency, right? All equals
Yes.
currency. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So Bob, can we switch over to like a little bit of about the business space and more about like your growth and as your business has evolved? Can you share what's maybe a challenge that you've had over the years since you've created this company? What challenges have you had and how did you overcome them?
Yeah. So, uh, one there's some ongoing challenges. So I think there's always going to be a grapple with these challenges. One is the confusion of what improvisation is, because the most common association is toward comedy, right? There's television, movies, the Christopher Guest films. There's so many, examples of great improvisation, as well as all these great stages that exist in every state in America has an improv stage or a couple of them, every city. So we associate improvisation with comedy, and in doing so, we dismiss really what it is. Because the second myth around improvisation is it's what happens when everything else goes wrong. And that myth, as well as just the association with comedy, really undermines the intelligence it takes to improvise well and the skill set around improvising well. Because in truth, improvisation takes place when planning and strategy meets execution. You need the planning, you need the strategy. What happens now when you activate that, when you bring it to life? So, just dispelling those two myths, I don't know that I'll ever truly overcome them because also improvisation is an art form. And with that, even the way that people do link it to business, there's different approaches to it. So people are going to come to it from different ways. So we'll just continue to work on that by strengthening our brand. So how are we overcoming it? I wrote a Stanford University Press book. We started doing virtual training, trying to do virtual training in 2010, and we're executing in the virtual space as part of our portfolio in 2017. We
Mm.
created an online program, asynchronous self-paced program in 2019. We are in a perpetual state of development, of catch us if you can.
Yeah.
We are going to figure out how to use the next great things out there, and we're going to do them in a very high level that does not jeopardize the integrity of the art or the learning that we're going to put into place. And
Mhm.
so that's really where one of our strengths is and how we continue to cut through the challenges we have. We are in a perpetual state of learning. We are in a perpetual state of development, which means that we are humble and hungry.
Yeah. And that's important to be humble and hungry all the time, no matter what stage you are, because if you are really wanting to scale, you have to be, you get to be humble and hungry. And also, as you shared, you're always in a perpetual state of learning. And that's really important. As soon as we think we know it all, that we pretty soon that the end is near, right? So because
Yes.
everything's always evolving, just like AI is here, it's not going anywhere. So we either need to get on board, and whether we love it or not, or like it or not, we need to get on board and use it for what it's good for. But again, it's not going to replace the relationships. And improv isn't a winging it thing. It's about practice, just like everything else. And when you see people on improv, and that's what I want to make clear, because I've seen a lot of improv, they're just haven't stepped on stage and wing it. They've been doing
Yeah.
this, they've been practicing. So they've got their muscles, they've flexed those muscles so many times. They've just like exercising. You're not going to drop 100 pounds in 2 days. It took you how long to gain it? It's going to take you a long time to lose it. But it's a matter of consistency, that practice, doing those daily reps. And that's where in sales or in business and in everything else, yes, you get to be able to, you're learning how to be flexible. You're learning how to shift and move and along with your team. And with the other person on the other side of the call, your potential clients, which I think is fantastic. And I love what you're doing. I think it's really, really cool. And I love the spin that you're putting on it with improv. And I'm sure there's fun along the way because you made it
Oh,
sound
yeah.
fun. Yeah. Yeah. You
Yeah,
get to have
I
fun
can't
along the
underscore
way.
that enough. Fun comes with this whether you want it or not, which is another, realization early because I was a performer, from 94 out, that we don't need to focus on having fun because it's coming.
Yeah.
Whether you want it or not, you're going to laugh the entire time you're in our programs. So might as well pin it down with the hard stuff. That way, when you walk out, you're like, that was fun and I
Yeah.
learned something. And then it becomes memorable.
Yes, and you want more, right? And that you're going to more be willing to practice those reps and put more reps in because it is fun. And you learn to laugh at yourself and not take yourself so seriously, which I believe is a key ingredient in business. Yes, we get to look at numbers. Yes, we have to do the not so fun stuff, and it also gets to be fun. And I would always tell my clients, I'm like, at the end of the day, you get to smile and laugh at, a little bit. If you did a video and you went online and you're like, well, I flubbed that. Okay, you flubbed it. No big deal. Laugh at yourself. You're only going to get better. You can't get better. And I guarantee you helped somebody in the process, right? So, okay, so question for you, marketing strategies. You work with a lot of different companies. You work with government, you work with education, colleges, universities, you work with businesses, you work with entrepreneurs. What marketing strategies work for you? Because you hear out there, you got to niche down. Did you niche at the beginning and then you've expanded, or was this just some? And I hear from many people, you know what, my niche is I help people, like I help companies, but we help people in a specific way, and that's the niche. So, what is it for you, and what marketing strategies have worked for you?
Yeah, so you're actually hitting it right on the head. So we're in a niche industry and we're niche inside that niche industry, and our focus is serve and support. I said it before, if we are going to be as bold as saying we want to make you look like a rock star for bringing us in, that's not saying I want to make you feel good that you brought us in. I want other people to come to you and tell you how great the programs and courses that we have created for you are, so that it elevates you. You look like a genius. That's the goal. So
Yeah.
we set the bar really, really high. So the marketing strategies, of course, it's the same. I think that you're going to hear from a lot of people. Produce content, produce content, produce content, outward focus. This is a free gift. This is free information. Check this free thing out, that free thing out. It's all about give, 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 give. Because you're trying to cut through the deluge of social media in the rapidly evolving ways that it's going to be produced, then how are you going to do that? And how do you then further differentiate yourself by focusing on your audience? So our audience typically is not the young, hot, cool influencers, who are, selling shampoo or whatever, putting their bottles up like you should try this brand of shampoo. Those aren't the ones that typically want to come to us for improv training. It's businesses, it's organizations. And yes, it's solo, it's lawyers, it's people who need personal professional development, need to advocate for themselves. So sending out messages then in the social media world that are focused on that and still are giving gifts. So like you need to figure out for how to advocate for yourself inside this law firm and you feel like you're overwhelmed, try this approach.
Right.
Try this one thing and let us know how it goes. Don't let us know how it goes. It's fine because we're not going to milk the social media world like the influencers do. What we're
Right.
trying to do is get you to give us a call and say, "Hey, this worked. What's next?"
Yeah. Nice. So if you go back, let's go back to a challenge. If you had a magic wand and I gave it to you and said, Bob, here, poof, we could fix, if you could fix one thing in your company right now or business right now that you're facing, and I know you told us about challenges, maybe it's the same thing. What would be that one thing that you would fix just for other people out there who are running a business going, I have this problem too?
Yeah, let's see if others have the same problem. So, I mentioned that we started our virtual portfolio in 2017, had such great success with the clients that we had that, and we weren't marketing this because our competitors have a lot of marketing dollars. So our approach has always been like get miles ahead of them. That way, once they realize what you're doing, they have to catch up to you, and by that time, we're already miles into the next
Right.
thing. So we created this great virtual piece teaching people how to use these techniques through Zoom, through actually at that time it was Adobe Connect in 2017, and in Skype as well. Then in 2019, we went into Mashable Studios in Manhattan and created a very high-end self-paced asynchronous learning tool. So cut to 2020, we're going to launch. However, at that time,
Yeah.
and this is early 2020, no one knew what synchronous was or asynchronous was. Virtual and self-pay. Like if we were, I thought if we launch both of these in January, February, it's just going to confuse people. Is this, wait a minute, are you teaching me online or do I got my own pace? So we were going to spread these out. We are going to launch one of them early and then launch the other one like in September. So give one some traction and area to really become its own product and then put the other one in place. Then the pandemic hits.
Yeah.
And we were going into 2020, experiential learning in the virtual space was slim. The competition was not existent. And in using improv as experiential learning in the virtual space, synchronous and asynchronous, was not out there at all. So it was flat water, very blue,
Blue ocean, wide
blue ocean,
open.
horizon, as far, and we were the only ship, and we had tons of fuel,
Yeah,
food,
clear
crew.
sailing. You were like, we're
It was
gonna
good
crush
to
this.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, cut to March, and we just push everything out there, and it goes from flat water, blue ocean to hurricane.
Yeah.
Everybody was out there. It was tumultuous and spinning and lasted several years. So we got sucked down with everybody else. And so if I was going to do this again, I would have launched our virtual stuff in 2019. So when our asynchronous stuff was going to hit, even though, without knowing the pandemic is still the scenario is approaching here, we had already established our virtual classes and we could launch the asynchronous self-paced stuff. And in theory, that would have helped us a lot in 2020.
Yeah.
And
So the key takeaway for this piece of it for you listeners is if you have an idea, if you have something you want to do, don't wait, right? You
yeah,
never know what's going to happen. And yeah, it just 2020 was the time where it shifted a lot of things for a lot of people. So you're not alone in that. But it is a good reminder too. Like if you have a thought, if you have an idea, don't sit on it, because the idea came to you for a reason or the plan came to
carpe
you.
diem.
Go with it, seize the day, do it now, because if you don't execute, somebody else will, or
Mhm.
something will happen to make it to where you could have, should have, could have, would have, right? We don't want to be
Yeah.
in that position, but it brought you to where you are now, which is awesome. And but there's some learning moments that we all have to have. So thank you for sharing that, because I know that a lot of people listening are going to be able to learn from what happened with you as well. But I love what you're doing, and I'm so grateful to have you here today. So my last question for you, Bob, is if we were able to bring you back in a year just to revisit the conversation from a year to now, what would success look for you like for you in 12 months?
Success would look like we have at least one, if not two, enterprise-wide clients that we've seemed to go every other year on. So if that's the case, this is the year.
This is the year.
At some
And then we
large
just get to make
companies
it
like,
consistent. Yeah.
yeah, we want you from CEO to all the way down to new hires. And then from there, we are back in the studio creating our masterclass work for our online asynchronous programs.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Can you share, Bob, how people can reach out to you and connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, of course, and Business Improv. Simple enough, businessimprov.com. Come check it out, find us, ask us questions. We will get back to you and really want you to use these techniques. So
Yeah,
hope to
yes,
see you there.
absolutely. It's fun. So
Yeah.
definitely reach out to Bob. It's Bob Kulhan, and he's on LinkedIn. We will have your links inside of the show notes, Bob. And you can go to businessimprov.com. That's the website. And go check out Business Improv and bring a little fun in improv into your business. And you never know. I'm sure we haven't even been able to talk about that, but I'm sure everything you're going to learn with Bob and his team will also filter into your personal life as well and
Yeah.
bring some more
Yeah.
fun and joy into that. That's another conversation that maybe we'll have another time. But yeah, it's all a ripple effect. So definitely reach out to Bob, businessimprov.com. And thank you again, Bob, for being here. This has been such a pleasure. Thank
The
you for
pleasure's
listening.
mine.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you for having
And
me.
if you're watching Bob and I on YouTube, please subscribe and drop a comment below for Bob. If you are listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, please leave a 5-star review if you're on Spotify or Apple. And we appreciate you and thank you for taking time out of your day to be here with Bob and I. If you are looking to grow and amplify your visibility, because that's what leads to lead gen, that's what leads to enrollment into, or bringing in more clients into your business, then and you're just like stuck, then go grab our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint to grab that. It's a free download. It's yours. And again, go reach out to Bob Kulhan on LinkedIn and businessimprov.com and bring some more fun into your business. Thank you again, Bob. We'll see you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight.